because attitude is everything. It starts with the way you talk to yourself, the way you encourage yourself, because that's what you're going to emanate out there in the world.
More money, more problems. So true. Okay. And the other thing is, money doesn't change you. If you're a dick when you're poor, you're going to be a dick when you're rich. Build a fucking empire, guys. And
That's
smash
it.
the old family, anything behind you, and smash it and make a difference. Make a difference in this world. If you're not changing the world on a daily basis, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. My mission is to help you crush your self-limiting beliefs and embrace being unapologetically you. The Born Unbreakable podcast brings you inspirational stories from all over the world that will empower you to unlock your unbreakable spirit. I'd love to partner with you on your next breakthrough. Go to bornunbreakable.com to schedule a free transformational call. Action begins today.
Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. For those of you listening, I can't even tell you how excited I am about this episode. I know you're going, girl, where have you been? You took like a week or two off. What are you doing? Well, I was getting my fitness on. I was getting my health and wealth going. And I was like, I'm coming back with this episode with Dr. Robb Kelly. Y'all don't even know. Just Google it and you'll figure out why I'm like going crazy right now. So I'm not going to steal his thunder because his story is tremendous. I will say a few things though. Dr. Robb Kelly is an addiction expert. So you can only imagine the kinds of things that we're going to talk about today, whether it is you, whether it is someone you know, whether it's a colleague, a friend, maybe even a family member. We all have experienced in our lives someone who may struggle with some kind of addiction, whether that's alcohol, whether it's drugs. There's all kinds of other addictions. We don't have to list them all. I know in my personal experience, I've had partners who have suffered tremendously with alcohol, have gone to AA, have done the things that they need to do, and sometimes relapse. And it's a whole journey. And Robb is no stranger to it. And today, I mean, he's been on The Doctors, he's been on many podcasts, many shows, and he helps people. Not just, and I love your motto because it really is about stepping out and finding the solution. And one of my favorite things is it's that when you say, you know, it's not the drinking, it's the thinking. That really is what needs to be focused on. So I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And you look amazing, by the way. Thank you so much for having me.
I did my kickboxing class, so I have like glow today.
Boom.
Boom. I mean, my muscles are not, if you're watching this on YouTube, they're not quite yet like Dr. Robb Kelly's, but you know, I will get there, I promise. But okay. So the only way to start our conversation is to go back to before you were helping people. You needed help. You were in a place of your life, and I want you to tell your story.
Of course, yeah. Hey guys, my name's Dr. Robb Kelly, specializing in addiction, childhood trauma, depression, all that great stuff. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I was a chronic alcoholic. You know, I couldn't stop drinking and lost everything. So it all started for me. I was born into a musical family with my auntie and uncle. So by the age of 9, I was actually playing on stage semi-professionally, which means Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. We'd go out and we'd get paid. And my auntie and uncle was awesome. So I would just stand in the background playing the bass guitar. But I remember we played one particular, it was in Liverpool, by the way, in England, where the Beatles come from. And I'm on stage and they opened the curtains for us to start our set. There were so many people there. Oh my God, I freaked out. And I missed some notes and I was nervous and it was just a mess. So we get us off stage and we're ready to go on for the second set. And I said to my uncle, I don't think I'll go on it. I've got stage fright. Even at the age of 9, I knew what that was. Anyway, he gave me a beer, gave me one of these little beers and I drank it and my whole life just changed right there and then. You see, alcoholism is in my family. It's a predisposition, by the way. Alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. I'll explain that later. So, yeah, I mean, going through life, high school, every weekend I drink alcohol. And, you know, alcoholism is a progressive illness, so it always gets worse. It never gets better. And that's what happened to me. You know, I was lucky enough to go to college. So I got to college, drank my way through college. And then wanted to be a famous musician, obviously, but never quite made it to that named musician. I missed out on a few bands that become famous because of my drinking, didn't turn up for auditions and stuff like that. But I left college drinking like crazy, and I joined the police force. And I only joined the police force because the Freemasons Lodge that I belonged to at the time, supposed to be 18. I was only 15 when they asked me, because I was the only organ player in Manchester, apparently, at that time. That was free. So I joined them, got into university, and then, you know, found people that drank like me, which was awesome. Probably for the first couple of months, and everyone went home and studied for exams, and I was just drinking until 2 o'clock in the morning, then coming home and banging lines of cocaine to keep me awake, and I was going to school, and that was just, you know, day in, day out. And obviously, there's obviously a burning point where you had to get to. But yeah, I lasted a couple of months in the police force, and they fired me for being drunk on duty. And my sergeant called me an alcoholic. Well, I was like, oh my God, I was so offended to call me an alcoholic. So I went home to tell my mom and dad, because I was living there. And I didn't even think about the embarrassment that's caused the family of me getting fired. I couldn't believe they called me an alcoholic. And of course, later on, as I went through life, it became apparent that I was drinking too much alcohol. But I didn't know about the disease. I didn't know. I just thought I can control it. I can control it. Eventually left her married, kids, you know, nice cars, $1 million first came in, bought the $1 million house, all this stuff. And then boom, it hit me full blown. So we'll go into more detail, but just as a preemptive to the story we're going to tell, I lost my kids. I lost my wife, I lost my houses, my practice, my cars, my holiday homes, everything. And I ended up on the streets homeless. Now, when I say I was homeless, I don't mean couch surfing. I mean, I was living under trees. I was begging, I was stealing, I was hurting people for money just so I could drink alcohol. I stayed on there 14 months and still didn't think I had a drinking problem. I just thought it was bad news. You know, the authorities took my children off me at the age of 1 and 3, my 2 daughters. That was 30 odd years ago, and I've never seen my youngest daughter ever since they took them off me.
Oh my gosh. So you went from $1 million home to under the trees.
Yes.
Living under the trees.
How does that happen? You know, I remember my first night on the streets because my dad threw me out. So when everything was split up, my wife changed the locks and everything, went to my mum and dad's. I lasted with them about 4 or 5 days, and they had to throw me out because my drinking was absolutely insane. I smashed one of the guitars against their wall, their living room wall, and it broke, and they were scared. So my dad threw me out. I hated that man for that, by the way, for years and years. But we don't know as alcoholics what damage we cause. We infect, we're like a disease. We infect our families, we infect our parents, we infect our children. I affected everybody. I'm like a contagious. I affected everybody I came into contact with, but I didn't know it at the time. You know, yeah. My eldest daughter, 4 years ago, she got in touch, by the way, and now she works for me as my lead therapist in Manchester office, which is amazing. But I didn't know the damage. She still sees a counselor today for the damage that I did. Mm-hmm. And I have to take responsibility for that. I have to take ownership of that. That, yes, I was a disease, but no, I should have sought proper help early. So I remember being on the streets and saying to myself, if I ever, by the way, 97% of people on the streets in Manchester, England, die on the streets. If I ever get off the streets, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping people with alcoholism, addiction, cake, food, sex, porn, whatever it is, and their families. Because what we found, we've done loads of studies and research, and some of the stuff I'm going to say today go, oh, that's not right. Believe me, it's right. 30 odd years of research studying. Nobody else studies the alcoholic brain like we do. Now, they might study addiction, but alcoholic brain, they've never studied to what we do. But I'm like a rampage today. You know, I don't care. I got no one to answer to. Mm-hmm. What the hell have I got to answer to? It's like, I say what people are thinking. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if I say something I don't agree with? Walk outside with me? I doubt you're going to win that battle, even at the age of 61. You're not going to lose. You're going to lose that battle. So, you know, I live my life today as if I don't care. You know, your comments, well, there's only 2 people out there that don't really like what I do, but the odd comment a couple of times a year, you know, that doesn't pay my mortgage. So until it pays my mortgage, I'm going to take no looking at them comments and them haters out there, because I learned one thing. There's no hater doing better than you. You'll not find one hater that's doing better than you. You know, so I live a life crazy today. I really do.
I love it. I love it. I love what you do. I love the crazy colors you wear and how you do the treatment in your facility, because, you know, as you've talked about and watching your content, is that recovery is hard, but you can infuse fun into the experience as people are transitioning into, you know, that transformation of this other version of themselves that they're still figuring out. You know, so basically you were like a tornado that went through and there were remnants of the things that you left behind. So what's the turning point? You're 14 months, you're living under trees. How do you wake up one day and go, I'm going to live life differently?
Well, I got to preempt the answer with my choir master, stroke headmaster, stroke vicar at my school when I was 6, 7, 8, molested me on several occasions. So I want to say that out the box, because I didn't believe in God or anything like that. Non-believer, not so ever anything. Don't you mention that stuff to me. Because at that time of my life, which went on to affect all my life, obviously, called childhood trauma. By the way, that's the gateway drug, childhood trauma. I was walking in the business side of Manchester, what we call the back end of Manchester, businesses and factories, nobody there. Monday morning around 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. It's pouring down with rain. I'm just starting with the craving, need more alcohol. And I dropped down to my hands and knees and I started to cry from my stomach like a baby. My stomach was aching. I looked, the rain was pouring on my head. Every time I looked down with my tears and the rain, it was hitting the pebble stones and turning purple. And I'm sat there. Now, here's the interesting part, guys. I wasn't crying because I'd lost my children or my wife or my house or my money. My parents, my brother and sister wouldn't speak to me. I was crying because the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And it took all of that for me to realize. I looked up to the sky and I said this: if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds-ish later, a guy walked around the corner with a little Bible in his hand. He said, "Do you want help?" And I'm like, I didn't see you even coming. So I said, "Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I'm dying." This is after 5 suicide, and 2 of them worked. I was actually dead, and they brought me back to life. Hated them guys for that. On the side of an old, smelly, rainy, crazy road in Manchester. But this guy took me back to his house, and he said, "I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery. You can stay here as long as you want." And that's when my journey started.
So a stranger.
Yep. Oh, and it gets more crazy than that. Des, let me tell you, it gets more crazy than that. That's just, you know, oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Talk
about a turn of events.
So get this, guys. I would never tell for 15, 20 years. I would never say this story because I didn't want to be, you know, looked down as being crazy. But the things I've done are not humanly possible. That's what I would say. It's not humanly possible. So he took me to this AA meeting, which I hated. You know, I've been there before, a load of crap, people talking, you know, how much they drink and all war stories and stuff. So, but I sat there because it was a free bed for as long as I went to the meetings. So I'm sat in this meeting with him, thinking which is the quickest way out to get to the liquor store, to steal vodka, drink it, get back in the hall without him noticing and sit right back next to him. And I thought, the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom. The window was this big. I tried to squeeze out of that and I couldn't do it. So I was really pissed at the time. So I went back, sat down and just waited. This guy called John said, "My name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic." And I went, "Derek, what did he said recovered? What does that mean? You can't say that in here." And he talked about this book and he talked about God and he talked about how alcoholics can do anything. So I went out to him after the meeting and said, John, my name's Rob, would you sponsor me? And he said, no. Just before the ground opened and swallowed me, because I never asked for help, he said, I'll be your spiritual advisor for a period of 12 weeks. So I said, what do I have to do? He said, bring the big book, bring a dictionary. I said, I went to Oxford University, I don't need a dictionary. He said, bring a dictionary. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., I think, or 8 p.m., I can't remember now, I'd walk around to his house for an hour. I'd get there, and I left at 6, got there for 7, spent until 8, walked back till 9. So I spent an hour every Wednesday for 12 weeks with him. And I knew when I finished that if I continued to do his program, I'd never drink ever again. But I didn't know at the time that alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, the same with any addiction. You know, it's just a symptom. It's not what's going on here. So I stayed the 12 weeks. I come home. He said to me, by the way, he said, listen, when we finished the 12 weeks, on the last day was a Sunday. And he said, because we've just finished the steps, he said, your life's going to change from tomorrow. And I said, John, I love you and thank you for everything you've done. But I'm in a basement at Derek's house on a blow-up mattress. Nobody knows I'm there. So I think you're wrong with this one. I went back home. I slept well. Next day I got up, started cleaning the house. That was kind of my give back to Derek. And Derek came home at about 11 o'clock. And oh my God, what's happened? He said, Rob, there's a part-time job sweeping the floors in the factory. Do you want it? I said, yes, I'll take it. That job turned into a full-time job a week later. A couple of weeks later than that, somebody gave me a car. It was a Mini that I could get to work and back with Derek. And when I got my first pay packet, it used to be cash stapled to an envelope. And I went to the gas station and I bought John a little teddy bear and a card. And I said, thank you, John, for introducing me to God. He took the compulsion away to drink, and I walked back to that man's house. This is where it gets crazy. So I'm changing the world. I'm changing people. I've got knowledge that nobody else has, and people are recovering. People are getting well when I sit down with them, doing book studies and all sorts of stuff. But when I get to his house, it looked empty. So I knocked on the door, and I thought he must have just taken his drapes down or something. And the next door neighbor to the right, she came to the door and says, can I help you, love? And I said, yeah, where's John moved to? And she said, John. I said, yeah, John here. There's been no one in that apartment for 3 months that I know of. I moved in 3 months ago. I've never seen anybody in there. So I let her close the door and I went to the left-hand side and I knocked on the door a bit harder now because now I'm like, what's going on? This guy came to the door, big guy. I said, where's John relocated to? And he said, John. I thought, why keep people keep saying it? I said, John, next door. And he said, oh, you got the wrong address. I said, I've not got the wrong address. I've been coming here for 12 weeks. And he said, and I quote, that apartment is derelict. There's no flooring. You can't actually go in. You can't go in it. There used to be tape outside warning people you can't go in it. You have the wrong address. So I'm, confused. So the next day I went back to the meeting where I'd been 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. And the same chairman was there. And I said, hey, Billy. He went, oh, Rob. I said, you remember me? He said, yeah, I remember you. How's it going? I said, great, but I need a question. I met this guy called John. He said he was recovered. We went over near the coffee machine. We're having coffee for about 30, 40 minutes, and we're talking to him. Do you know where I can find him? And he looked puzzled, and he said, Rob, you were over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself for 30 minutes. Never found that man.
What?
And when I got wealthy, because, hey, I work hard, guys, so I'm wealthy. You can have anything you want in the world. By the way, we'll get into that later. But, yeah, I put a private detective on when I was when I moved to Dallas. I got a Manchester private detective. It cost me a fortune to trace down this guy, and nobody could find him.
Are you kidding?
Well, the stuff he taught me is what I use today, in part of my program. And we have a 97% success rate with over 8,000 people over 30 years. So we're doing something right, and all thanks is to God and John and everybody else that helped us get here.
That's a transformation.
Yes.
That's a transformation if I've ever heard and seen one. It's to the point where I want to use the word miraculous.
Yes.
Really. I mean, just everything you lost and then everything you gained really is tremendous, right? And I think that's the testament. That's the testament, because I think there's people right now listening and they could be in that spot where they're feeling lost and at a loss
100%.
because they're on the upturn.
And there's loads of people out there feeling that. And I always say to these guys, listen, guys, or girls, if you're sat at home and you're feeling that place where nobody cares, you're never going to amount to anything, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds. Why are you hanging around 10-cent minds all your life? Because of parents, because of caregivers. Oh, you can't go to college. Well, you can't do that job. Don't be so stupid. Yeah, they killed us. Babies are born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's all. The rest are man-made. Wait till your father gets home. Oh, my God, you can't do that, Rob. Really? Fucking really? You know, they're putting the brakes on my imagination, so I follow through learned behavior. Let me explain what learned behavior is, guys. It's things we take out of our caregivers going forward. Little comments, behaviors, anything we pick up is mirrored in our adult life, and you can't always correlate the both. We did an experiment once, and we're not the first people to do this, guys. We'd heard about it, so we did it. We got 1,000 fleas, and we stuck them in a huge mason jar, and we screwed the cap on, and we punched holes to make sure they could breathe. Now, fleas can jump 3 or 4 feet, as we know. We left the lid on for 3 days, and then we took the lid off. Not one flea jumped higher than where the cap was, which was interesting because they tried once and failed. So when it was taken off, they wouldn't jump higher because they know they'd fail. But what was more interesting, this is learned behavior, is that the babies they had in that jar wouldn't jump higher than where the lid was. And they had never even seen the lid. And that's what we do with our lives. We want to copy what our parents do. So if my dad, he didn't, but if my dad come home and he would hit my mum because he was drunk, I'm taking that into my relationships. I'm attracting through energy the girl I can manipulate, get drunk and hit. It's learned behavior and enmeshment we carry forward. And the easiest way to explain this is the girl that always comes to me and says, Dr. Rob, why do I keep attracting the same guy that ends up being an alcoholic and beats me? What was your dad like? Oh, you see, what happened to that poor girl is she's seen violence in the home. She's seen getting drunk as becoming normal. She's scared, okay? Whether the door racks or whether dad puts a key in depends if he's drunk or not, if they're going to get beaten or not. And they stay in that freeze. So what happens is the woman leaves and attracts them people, always attracts them people. And the 1-2 cases they don't, they meet the guy that takes care of her financially and everything. She'll sabotage that relationship to go back to what they feel comfortable.
The cycle, self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And that's so true. And I think trauma is, everyone has it in some way, right? Like there's all kinds of different things that we work through, and some traumas are big or small. So I know that there's a number of things that you do to help people. Can you talk about your services? And I'd love to know how you got your daughter as your head therapist. That's amazing.
So let me start with our daughter, because that's a real heartwarming story, guys, for anybody who's lost their children and dream of getting them back. It happens if you do the right thing. So I'm working with people. I'm just free of charge when I came over here. And then about 4 years ago, I got a message on Facebook Messenger at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, because of the patients I see, I always pick it up if it wakes me up. And it was Charlie Kelly. That's my daughter. And my wife got and says, it's Charlie. I was freaking out. And we pressed and said something like, Dad, I saw you on TV over here. You're doing really well for yourself. I don't believe what everyone told me about you. I've studied alcoholism. Can we get in touch? Can we meet? So within 24 hours, we're on the plane back to Manchester. And I got to tell you, I was so nervous. And we got to the door, and this is the self-sabotaging old behavior. Before we knocked on the door, all them thoughts came back. What sort of father was you? Where was you when she first rode a bike? Where was you when you first went to school? All this stuff. Where was you for her first boyfriend? You did not protect her. And I didn't have to knock, and she opened the door, which surprised me a little bit. I wasn't ready psychologically for it. And we hugged and we cried, and my wife was with me, and she cried. And I come back, and I'm just going to say, I'm so sorry. But then she said, Dad, I've got something to show you. Because that's what she said in the text. I've got good news for, So we walked into her dining room, and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. Right there and then, if I'd have been taken by God I'd have been a happy man. Because everything I've done, everything I've fought against, Everything we believed in, the medical fraternity laughed at us and said we were just idiots, that what we believed and what would happen. Every negative comment, every snub off the medical fraternity, everything came to fruition, and that the place right there it was the end for me. I think this is it, the happiest person in the world. But she said to me, Dad, I want to go back to school and learn what you know. So she, first of all, became an NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And now she's studying for a PhD. But 2 years ago, she finished an NLP. It was a 2-year course. And she opened my Manchester office in the UK as my lead therapist. And we talk every day, and I visit 2 or 3 times a year. And it's just amazing. So it comes if you do the right thing, guys. And there's no, I can't do it. It never happens to me. I'm going to explain why that happens, because it's not true. Okay. It's not true. It's core beliefs. Not true. Okay. What we use is neuro-linguistic programming. We use brain spotting, which is the latest technique that goes from the pupils into the subconscious brain. Cognitive therapy comes like in the outside of the brain, the cognitive part of the brain. Brain spotting goes through the eyes, the pupil, into the subconscious brain. Now, the eyes are part of the brain. It's not an eye separate optical cord brain. They bulged out as we started to transform many years ago. So the direct correlation through the pupil into the subconscious brain, which brings out trauma that you're not even thinking of. We use somatic experience, which basically it's been around for years. It's listening to what the body's telling you. The body will tell you quicker than the brain will tell you, but you have to realize. So the easiest one to explain is the gut feeling. The gut feeling is real. Back in the tribal days, one of the tribesmen will get a gut feeling, which means there was danger near. You always go for the gut. When you have 2 decisions, go for the gut feeling. It's right every single time. So we use normal psychology, addictive psychology. We use psychotherapy. And between all of those, which is 1 hour a day, telehealth only right now. Well, since 8 years ago, 2 years ago, we brought it all back into one office, and we do telehealth only. It's a 90-day program, 1 hour a day, 5 days with me, 2 days with my psychotherapist or coaches or therapists. And we guarantee that you will stop drinking and using. We guarantee that you will go on to have a successful life, to the point nobody else in the world does this, is we offer a money-back guarantee if you relapse whilst following our program. Unheard of. You see, we have found the key to success. Most of my patients right now, I only take on 5 patients every 90 days. 3 of them patients are non-alcoholic or no drug addicts. They're people who want to change their lives. And it's all about the way the brain works. It's all about negative trauma driving our neural pathways, which are our thought patterns and therefore behaviors. We rewire the brain. So away from 80% negative, 20% good, we change it to 80% good, 20% negative. So you can have that job. You can date that girl. It's all possible. And I'll explain later why that is. But don't sit there and think that this is not possible. Look at him. He's okay. I made myself by a couple of things. Doing the right thing, working on my childhood trauma, and giving money back to the community. $150,000 out of me and my wife's pocket, not the foundation, our pocket. So the book sales, the foundation, they give another $500,000 out every single year. Now, you must be a 1-parent family, wanting your kids back, want an apartment, want a car. A guy that's been left with the children wants a suit, or not been left with the children, needs a suit for court, needs an attorney. This is what we spend our money on. And I once got told by an old man that you'll never go broke by giving away. And that seems to be the key to life.
Oh my gosh. There is something that is tremendously gratifying when it's not just about you, and that's the kind of addiction, that you want to feel, is the one that is helping others and helping them to thrive. One of the things that you mentioned that I thought was so important that stuck with me was not just helping the individual, right? Because that is the accountability, that is the person, but also their environment. Who is around them, whether that's a significant other, whether that's family. So how does that fit into this program? If someone's coming to you for 90 days, what is those environmental
pieces look like? Is that something that you coach on specifically?
Yeah, definitely. If let's say, for instance, a married couple with a 19-year-old daughter, when the guy comes to us, the wife and the daughter in the same house must come on the program. If they don't, we don't touch it. You see, when the family is involved in, let's say it's the man, it's not always the man, in the journey to recover, when the family is involved, the success rate goes up by 42%. This is where we're getting our figures from over the last 10 years. So the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, is very important, because if I hang around with 9 depressed people, I will become the 10th. If I hang around 9 successful people, I will become the 10th. It's the mirroring part of the brain. It picks up from human beings one to the other. You ever met somebody and go, God, I really like this guy, and not in a sexual way, but this guy, he's unbelievable. That's the mirroring part of the brain. You won't be able to explain why you want to be with this guy or in his surroundings. It's just the mirroring part of the brain. They have something that you want desperately. So we focus on the wife's trauma. And what we get first time off the wife is, well, it's got nothing to do with me. He's the one that drinks and comes home violently, and the kids see everything. And we go, okay, first of all, it's not about your husband. This is about you. Well, I don't have any trauma. Well, first of all, everyone has trauma. Everybody, okay? Addicts and alcoholics have trauma more, because no little t's or big t's, because they're more sensitive. The brain reacts, 3 parts in the brain that differ from the actual normal person. But when we get involved, the family, it's like, if you can imagine 2 houses, and this one speaks Japanese, this one speaks English, and we pick the husband out and we put him in our program and we teach him a whole different language for recovery. So let's say it's English. So you've got Japanese house, English speaking house. When we're done with him, we put him back in the Japanese speaking house. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to start speaking Japanese again. So we have to educate both houses to be on the same English talking, for instance. It's the same language for it to work. And we sometimes tell the wife to leave. If the husband keeps backing out, keeps the same, doesn't want to change, we say, get the wifey, get the kids and leave the house now. Go. He's not going to change. It will end in somebody dying. And 100% times the truth. You see, I don't run a bakery, so I don't sugarcoat shit. This disease kills more people than anything else put together, but the figures are not being reported. Like, we did a weekend in a hospital, and we were allowed to know everybody coming through because of my licensing as a doctor. 89, 90% of people coming through the ER doors in Richardson, Dallas, Texas were influenced by alcohol or drugs. 40% of them to extent when they were unconscious. So 40%, 7% died that weekend. But it was never reported as drug overdose, and it was never reported as alcoholism. What it was down is liver failure, car crash, all this stuff that they put down. Nothing goes down. So the figures that you see on the internet are not true. You need to times them by 10 at least to find out the real problem. You see, everybody knows somebody who suffers from some kind of addiction. Everybody does. And you know something? If you don't, it's probably you. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. It's staggering. It's staggering when you say it like that, because I see news headlines all the time. There was one that I saw the other day, and it was someone who crashed into a tree and every person in the car died. And I'm like, how do you crash into a tree?
Yeah, it's all down to alcohol, drugs, trauma, all the stuff we go through, because everyone's got their own stuff going on in life. Everyone has problems. Everybody has trauma. And if you don't deal with your trauma, your childhood trauma, and it looks in all forms, by the way, it's not a car crash, not a plane crash. It could be easy. Like my mom said to me, is how many times, Robert, have I told you can't go to college, you're too stupid? That killed me. That was worse than a plane crash or a car crash for me, because that scarred me for life, still does now. Yeah. When I'm going to do something big, I hear my mom's voice saying, you're stupid, you can't go on to do that. So you have to look at the trauma itself. Most people have come from a dysfunctional family, can't tell the difference. The same neural pathways for love as it is for anger, as it is for hate, as it is for relationships. They're all entwined, and you have to start picking that trauma apart. And when you see that, uncover, discover, discard of that trauma, it frees you up to start being that $1 million brain that you was born at. Because remember when we were kids, guys, throw football over here, but our home used to kick a soccer ball, and we go, hey, Jimmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you go, I want to be a pilot. What about you, Billy? I want to be a professional football player. You know what happened to them dreams? I'll tell you. They were kicked out of us by our family and friends. That's what happens with life. Oh, you can't. Says who?
Yep.
That's what Biggie's saying. Says who? Well, This is why our marriage is supposed to be. Says who? Who's making these freaking rules up? Because I don't like them. So you can do anything. Quantum physics backs our theory up. That you can be anything, do anything, be anything that you want to be. You want to be the greatest father in the world? It's open. I'm the best addiction doctor in the world. Prove me wrong. You can't do that. So what I will say is a couple of things. That money does not make you happy. It will never make you happy. Believe me. I think it was Jay-Z that says more money, more problems, or Biggie. More money, more problems. So true. Okay. And the other thing is money doesn't change you. If you're a dick when you're poor, you're going to be a dick when you're rich.
And it makes you more of who you are, right?
Exactly. It just exaggerates all your flaws. So if you're a kind person when you're broke, you're a kind person when you are rich. And that's just life.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever seen someone go through your program and either quit or you tell them that they can't continue? Or does everyone...
I'm known for get the F out of my office if you're messing me around. I'm the doctor, guys, think back, that turned down Britney Spears in Dallas, Texas, in Campese's restaurant for $1 million. I couldn't work with her. I walked out, and her father, Jamie, and a bodyguard stood up and says, we're not going to let you leave, and you should work with her. And I left and said, I can't work with her. So the next day, she's shaving her head off in the papers and acting crazy. It's like, you can't buy our services. We turned down millions of dollars for a month. If you're not ready, we're not taking you on. See, one of my biggest bugbears is when certain treatment centers take little Billy in, they relapse, take him back in for the same 30 grand, and a couple of months later, take him back in. Shame on you. Shame on you. What are you teaching? So we're not going to let you spend your money unless we can guarantee that your son, your wife, your daughter, your sister, whatever, can recover fully and get their life back on track. We will not do it. So yes, we turn people down. Yes, it's a hard program. So if we misinterpret the assessment and we get it wrong, then people start lying and making stuff up, because we'll put a private detective on you. You say you went to the gym and trained and you didn't, we'll get a private detective and follow you. And if you didn't go to the gym, we'll fire you. I think we're the only company that fires people. You don't get any money back, by the way. It's very expensive to come here, but if you mess up, you don't get a refund. Go away. Your mum spent $60,000 or something. You're not going to get a refund because you're not doing as we tell you to do. See, a normal therapist, how are you feeling about when he said that? How did you feel about that? That's bullshit. We tell you how you feel until you get your feelings back. You see, there's 3 types in the brain that are wrong with the addicts and alcoholics. Is the hypothalamus, which is our survival instinct part of the brain, that to an alcoholic after a certain part of drinking, when they turn into chronic alcoholism, tells that guy to drink alcohol. That's why alcoholics, including me, go days and weeks without food or water. The hypothalamus goes on childhood trauma. So we'll be doing great, everything's amazing, fantastic, and then we'll self-sabotage. We'll bring it all crashing down on us. And the amygdala, which is kind of our smoke alarm for the brain, but it's also picking up all that trauma and it's storing it in the subconscious brain. Yeah. That's the problem. Everything we see, hear, touch, feel is stored there. People go, I can't remember. With the right person in front of you, with the right technique, you can remember everything. Don't ever think you can't. But what happens is we stuff it down and we stuff it down. So if you've ever seen a deer being hit by a car but not die, what happens is freaking amazing. After a few seconds, it stands up and then it shakes violently for about 1 or 2 seconds and 3 seconds. Then it runs off. The trauma and the drama was cured there. So the next day, that bear might walk the same time, the same road, the same car, be hit again. Doesn't make any difference because it's got rid of that trauma. What we do, boys don't cry, Don't tell anybody outside the house. We stuff it down and stuff it down. And it's a bit like a zip file on your computer. You've got stuff and you can't deal with right now. And you click on it one day when you're bored, and all this stuff comes at once, and that's when the breakdown.
That is a dark zip file. Oh my gosh. How many of those do we have? Now, you have people go through the program. They've got through the 90 days. They're showing you their improvement. What does that support and sustainability look like? Do you keep in touch with your patients? How do you know that their success isn't just a one-hit wonder?
What we do is rather interesting. We do the 90 days, and then they go down to 3 days for the next month. Then they go down to 1 day a month for the month after. Then you're on 1 day a month for the next 2 to 5 years with us. And that's how we follow our progress. So you can call us 24 hours a day. Well, if we're sleeping, you can't, but we say 24 hours. If you're an ex-patient, and we will spend hours talking with you, we'll bring you back and either refund you or keep you in our program for a bit longer, no charge. And we monitor you through. So the guys that want to build their own business, I mean, we go far beyond. We can build a website, we get the domain name, we get the business cards, we get them contacts. I mean, they're an operative part of human society when they leave us because they've got something to live for, and we've rewired the brain to make the impossible possible. So when somebody says it's impossible, what we say is we do that. And they go, what are you throwing at me? We're throwing an apostrophe. Put it between the I and the M, because I'm possible today. Nothing is impossible. And you know, years ago, I used to get, well, I can't be president of the United States. Really? We just had forget your political views, guys. We had a businessman running the country. Don't tell me, with no knowledge whatsoever. Don't tell me you can't do anything. Get that job, get that girl. But don't tell me you can't do it. The only warning I'll give you is you don't have time. Yeah. Moms, remember taking your kids to kindergarten, next minute they're going to college? You don't have time. So do it now. You want to start that business? Do it now. You want to marry that girl? Do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait till you're 65 to retire, then enjoy life. That's bullshit. Yeah. Enjoy life now. We'll put a little bit away, but I'm going to abroad 3 times a year. I'm going to put $200 a month away or whatever. Live it now, guys. I've had so many people around with it that even my wife's mum and dad, they saved and saved and saved and saved for retirement. 4 years before they retired, mum got Alzheimer's. 2 years after that, dad died. They call it a broken heart. It's deeper than that. They call it a broken heart. You know, they left $1.8 million in the bank accounts.
Oh my gosh. You don't take it with you. You don't take it with you.
Exactly. So you have to start living life. If you want to be a manager or you want to be a great road sweeper, start acting like you already are. Quantum physics will back this up. Start walking like a leader. Start talking like a leader. If you're on 50 grand a year and you want to earn 70, hang around the guys that earn 70. Get rid of them guys that are negative. You know, then get, oh, you're a waste of time. I was just joking. They're not joking. They're jealous. Get rid of them. If you have one person in your circle, and by the way, if you have more than 5 people in your circle, you have at least one hanger on. You know, get that close circle around you that support you and you support them, and watch yourself grow. You want to change your neural pathway thinking tomorrow? This is how quick it is. Get up in the morning, before you brush your teeth with your right hand, brush with your left. The neural pathways are changing straight away. Now you've changed something in their head. There are billions, but you've changed. Go to work in a different direction. You know, you always wear a suit, wear a shirt and not a jacket. Just change them daily routines. Because if you do the same thing every day, you become stagnant and nothing happens in your life. Mm-hmm. Step out of the comfort zone, guys. There's not one successful people that made it in their comfort zone. Okay? So listen to this. Back in England, Manchester, in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a girl snatched off the side of the road. 16 years old, blonde-haired, blue-eyed schoolgirl. There was a massive manhunt, and they couldn't find her. So they called the manhunt off. 9 months later, a police car down a country road follows another car that had a broken light at the back. He pulled him over. This is back in the day. You don't need a warrant. They searched the car, they found a stolen screwdriver. And he admitted he'd stolen it. So now they're allowed to go to the house. Sure enough, there were lawnmowers stolen, there were drills stolen, there was all sorts of stuff stolen. On the way out, while they're still searching, one officer noticed that there's a huge box in the corner, 4 foot high by 12 foot wide. And they said, we know you've got more stolen stuff in there. And he said, I don't know anything about that box, but they smashed the lock off, and there was the girl that went missing 9 months before. She was beaten, she was battered, she was alive, but used to get out every day, restroom, feed, abuse, back in the box. Restroom, feed, for 9 months, guys. So when the police officer leant over to grab her hand, she helped this young girl step outside the box. She took her coat off and she put it around this girl. What's the first thing she did, guys? She got back in the box. That's what we do with life. We go back to that, even though it hurts us, even though it's terrifying, we go back to that comfort zone all the time. We stay in that abusive relationship far longer than we should do. We stay. It becomes a comfort zone. Get out that box, smash the box up, and start living life today. Don't put up with that shit anymore. Well, that shit says who? Yeah. Make your own rules, make your own life. And if you've got a great partner, make your own future. You can do anything that what you want to do, and you can become anything. You want to be a millionaire? It's not that hard these days. The problem being is staying sane while you do it. You know, don't let money go to your head and rule your stuff. You know, be kind, be considerate, always give back, and you can become anybody you want. So on a basketball court, quantum physics tells me I could be 12 places at the same time. Nothing's really solid. So if I can visualize myself on a basketball, try this, guys, close your eyes. Imagine yourself on a basketball court in 12 different positions. Quantum physics and real science says you can do this. Okay, Rob, where do you want to be out of them 12 people? I want to be near the goal so I can get the ball. I can slam it in the net like I've seen. I've never played baseball. Slam it in the net and become the hero of the game. Brilliant. Can you see yourself doing that? Yes. But how do I get there? Here's the answer. You walk over and you take that position. You don't beg for it. You don't crawl for it. You walk over because you've already seen yourself doing it, and you take that position. That goes to anything in life. Start talking, speaking like the person you want to be, as if you're in a movie or something. Yep. Brain will pick that up, and your pathways, the energy will pick that up, and the mind will drive that. The mind sits inside the brain. It's not part of the brain. I've made my mind up to do something, then the energy comes out, and off you go. Believe. Don't hang around with people that say you can't do. Get rid of them toxic people.
Step aside, Steph Curry.
Yes.
I'm about to mess this court up right now. You don't even know. Boom. People need to, that's such a great smash the fucking box.
Yes.
Probably what we need to call this episode. Just smash the fucking box, right?
Yes.
That's that. But you're so right. We're creatures of habit. And it's funny you mentioned that whole thing about taking a new direction. I was so fed up with the traffic leaving the kickboxing studio the other day. I just turned on a street. I had no idea. If there was going to be a dead end on the other side, but the only way I was going to find out was to take a different street. Yeah. And I found the opening. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to try more of this because there's always a way to get what you want. And I can't say enough in agreement with you about visualization. If you can go every day visualizing what you want, it's incredible what we're capable of.
Steps to do it, move in that direction, believe you're already there. It's like people don't even know how repetitive they always are in situations. So remember being at school when you take a bus to the seaside, your class might go to the seaside for the day. You get on the bus, you go down there, guys go out for a drunken afternoon down to the beach somewhere. When you get off and have the great fun, what seat do you sit in when you get back on the bus? The same that you traveled there. That's all behavior. That's self-sabotaging behavior. Sit in another freaking seat, guys.
Yeah. Right? It's so true. Well, I know you mentioned this, talking about the trauma that you've had, things that you've had to work through. If you had to say, what's a self-limiting belief that you've had to overcome?
I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, because that's what I took from childhood. I was never good enough. My dad never hugged me, told me he loved me. I did some amazing things as a kid, musician. I played at Abbey Road. I played sessions with Elton John, David Bowie, and Queen. My dad never said good job. Never. Mum was not really interested in what I did. The bodybuilding champion, the karate things that I won as a kid, never acknowledged. So still today, sometimes before I walk onto a big show, I did a show that was several times, I got out to about 8 million people. You're not good enough. It always comes to me before I go on. You are good enough. You really are. So I want to apologize if you feel like that, because again, somebody's put that there. That's not how we're supposed to live, guys. Go back, do your trauma, get rid of that stuff, uncover, discover, discard, and start doing things today. Okay? Today. Don't wait till tomorrow. If I'm sat in the living room with watching TV with my wife, I've got a big bag of chips here and a big mug of Coke, and I turn to my wife and go, you know something? I think I'll hit the gym tomorrow. I ain't going to the fucking gym tomorrow.
Go to the gym.
I know it. But you know something? If you put your Coke down and your chips for a minute, you walk into the bedroom, you put your sneakers, your T-shirt, your shorts and your towel, you walk over to the front door and stick that bag on the front door, there's a 97% chance of you going to the gym tomorrow. It's all within that 7.3 second time where the neural pathways can split. You have a couple of seconds to realize which one you want to take. Stop sitting back on the seat on the bus. Stop it.
You know, at the end of every episode, after I do a reflection, the thing that I always say is you are your only limit. So take action today, because I think that's the thing. I feel as if there is not enough urgency. There's a lot of complacency, not enough urgency, and it just takes that action. One step in front of the other. But I think often people are looking at a destination versus the journey, and it holds them back. Because
100%. Stop focusing on the destination because you're missing out in the journey. Stop focusing on that money because there's flowers and bees to see on the way there. That journey is beautiful. Remember the drug addict, the most intoxicating part between want a drug and taking the drug? The journey, no matter how bad it is, the journey you enjoy, but do something every day towards that thing you want to be, towards that manager or whatever, CEO or whatever, because the only difference between you, who's sat at home, not really got a job, and the guy around the corner driving the Porsche 911 and CEO of that company is he believed he can do it. Mm-hmm. And you don't. You see, college degrees used to be a great ROI. Today, they're not worth crap. That's what they're not worth. In fact, most companies prefer if you didn't have a PhD or a master's. Nobody requires it anymore. Elon Musk, you don't need a degree to work at his top level. You don't need it today. So start believing, start that position, start that part-time company. Well, I want to start a mobile detail company. Start with the car, put some stuff in it, start advertising, get the website, Facebook, go out and do one job, see if you feel different. That little part-time job that earns you $200 a month then turns out to the empire that you build and start franchising. But guys, don't build businesses, guys. Build empires.
Build empires. Oh my gosh.
And the only difference between the two is limited belief. Any fucking body can start a business. You get a business card on a website. I have a business. Build a fucking empire, guys. And
that's
smash
it.
The old family, anything behind you, and smash it and make a difference. Make a difference in this world. If you're not changing the world on a daily basis, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. I can change the world right now. I walk out to the office and there's loads of people, and I say to somebody, "Hey, nice sneakers, man." And he goes, "Oh, thank you." As he walks past you, look around. He's going to look down at his sneakers at least 2 times. Now you've made his day. So he goes home to the wife, and because he's in a good mood, because you compliment, now the wife's in a good mood because he's in. And then mum calls. Now mum's in a good mood because you've just changed the world, guys. For what? Nice sneakers? So come on, let's get on board.
It's a domino effect. It is. And I think that's one of the biggest things why I commend what you do, because the journey doesn't stop when the program is complete. You really watch people thrive through the actions that they want to take for their future and not just for today. That's a big difference in what you do. And I think that is the reason for the sustained success, is because you have that commitment to the people that you work with, which is incredible. So the question is, how do people connect with you? How do they find services and keep up with what Robb Kelly Recovery Group is doing?
Well, for those who are listening, not watching, I spell my name with 2 B's. So it's ROBBKELLY.com is the website. Jump on, give us a message, say hi. There's actually a button on there. If you press, you come directly to my cell phone. So try that. Any search engine, Dr. Robb, ROBB Kelly, will bring pages and pages up about us. And listen, guys, I want to say something. I'm speaking to the guys and girls that are sat at home now. they're in a one-bedroom apartment they can't really afford, they don't think they have a future, or you can't stop drinking and drugging, you know, I want you to call me. 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. It's always best to text, you know, and this is what's going to happen. When you text me, I'm going to text back with a time to call you. When I call you, we're going to have a 10-minute pep talk that will change your life. And you know, I'm not confident about that. If it doesn't, I'm going to send you $100 for your time. Okay. So if you're in that position, I would rather spend 10 minutes in a daytime speaking and inspiring you than hear of your funeral next month. This is doable. I'm in the trenches. You look online, you see the big houses, the cars, the Rolex watches, all that stuff. That keeps my wife happy and pays the mortgage. Me, I'm still that guy on the streets. I want to be the Derek to you guys. I want to be the John to you guys. And don't for a second think, oh, I can't be bothered. He's not going to want to speak to me. You're wrong. Everybody's got a story. And I can change, I can rewire your brain in 10 minutes. So jump on, let's do it as a team and move forward, guys, because I've worked with 8,000-ish people right now. Before I die, I want to work with 100,000 people. Wow. Yeah. So it's never going to cost you anything. We're never going to charge you. Again, you have to earn our service. You can't buy them. But call up for that chat, guys, because I'd love to help you. You would be making my day. I've got to tell you, man.
Well, that's a fucking mic drop. If I
ever, baby.
Oh my God. I'm so, like I said, I'm so blown away about everything that you do. And I'm just so grateful for, and you're right, because that energy, this conversation is going to feed the rest of my day.
Oh.
And right? That's all it's
touching.
That energy that you pay forward in every interaction that you do. And I think that's one of the big takeaways from this conversation. And people underestimate the power of their influence is the way that you engage, even if it's only seconds, for people in the world and in this universe, can change the direction of their day, of their mood, of their feelings, of what they're going to do next. If there's one thing that you do today, think about that. As you make your next phone call, as you walk out of the house, as you have that next interaction, because it's possible for you to have that kind of impact, right?
And we never know, you know. I mean, I was at a meeting once and I was teaching and working with these guys at an AA meeting, and it wasn't getting anywhere. People were moaning, who does he think he is, all that stuff. So we had a meeting, it was a speaker meeting, where they get people up, you know, for 10 minutes to talk. And I got up first, and there's 100 people in the room. And I said, you know something? I'm pissed for doing all this shit. Nobody cares. All these people, old timers, are moaning at me. I'm just sick of coming in here every single day and working with people because it's going nowhere. And I dropped the mic, literally dropped it in disgust and walked off. And I sat at the back of the room. And I was waiting for somebody to say something. I'm going to kill him. This old man that used to get there at 5:30 and then 6 o'clock in the morning, make tea for everybody. The meeting wasn't until 7. He'd sweep the floors and all that. And he got up, he had this walking stick, and he click, click, click. You could hear a pin drop. He got on stage and he bent down, he picked the mic up. And he said, let me ask you something, guys. All those people that have been affected by what Rob's been doing here and influenced by who he is, stand up. There's 100 people in the room here, and 15 people stood up. And I'm just about to say, what did I tell you? And then he said, for those guys that are still sat down, was you influenced by the guys already stood up and another 10 stood up? And he kept saying that until the whole room was stood up. And he said to me, never underestimate the power that we all have to influence others. And I cried in front of grown men. I never forgot that. So you never know the power you have. I don't care who you are, what you do in any life. I don't care. There's somebody looking up to you. And we need to stand up and be men, stand up and be women, stand up and lead. The world needs leaders, guys, right now. And if you're listening to this program, it's you I'm talking to. Well, I can't be. It's you I'm talking to. Why can't you be a leader? Do something today. Help others. It's not about you. It's not about me. You know, it's about other people. How many people can you influence? When you compliment somebody, dopamine's released into my brain. It's a good feel chemical. I love that. Compliment 3 people every day. Get them 4 chemicals every day in the brain going. And then you will live a long, successful, healthy. Because all the neural pathways for health, wealth, success, best father, all that stuff is already built inside the brain. Okay. What we do is we connect the neural pathways to the already fixed. So yeah, you can do anything, and yeah, you can be anybody you want.
Oh, thank you so much for inspiring me and everyone listening. You're sensational. I can't wait for us to meet in person, because I know that the energy is going to be out of this world. But for those listening, I will make sure, just so you have it in writing, in addition to hearing it, if you need to rewind it, I'll put Robb's information in the show notes so you can reach out, check him out. You will not be disappointed by the ongoing inspiration, because it's not just who we have immediately in our orbit every day, but it's who we choose to listen to, who we choose to read, who we choose to make decisions that are influencing us on a daily basis. And this is the kind of energy, the kind of positivity, and the kind of motivation that you want to be around. So Robb, thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me. You're awesome, and I can't wait to meet you.
Oh, awesome. Episode 154 with Dr. Robb Kelly, addiction expert on the books. That is our first episode of May. As I mentioned, took a little break at the beginning of May. Didn't disappear on you, but a girl had to work on her health and her wealth and get really laser focused. And I have more energy than ever. It has been one of the busiest months I've ever had, and that is a good thing. That is a blessing. That is an absolute blessing. I love to be here for you, to inspire you, encourage you, and give you just a little bit of a pep in your step. And I know that I am absolutely having a little bit more hop in my step after talking to Dr. Robb Kelly. His energy is out of this world. His belief in people is amazing. And the thing about him is that, talk about seeing transformation. He gets to see and engage with people who have no hope, who feel lost and broken and beaten and bruised and battered and traumatized. And he works through all of those things that he mentioned, through your neuro pathways, through the language, through the thinking, through the action, and that's what it takes. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, like it's impossible, just remember, I'm possible. Remember those amazing things that he shared with us today, because attitude is everything. It starts with the way you talk to yourself, the way you encourage yourself, because that's what you're going to emanate out there in the world. Change someone's life today. That is the message. Change someone's life today by how you show up, how you interact, how you speak, how you smile. It makes all the world of difference. Imagine a person that's out there right now that is feeling down, downtrodden, trampled on, like the world is against them. Your one interaction can change their perspective and their outlook, not just today, but even for tomorrow. As I always say, remember that you are your only limit, so take action today. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being here with me. We're celebrating spring. We're celebrating growth. We're celebrating transformation. That's right. So come back again next time. I'll be here with another incredible guest or another incredible topic to share with you. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts if you are an Apple listener and rate and review the show. I would highly appreciate it. And lastly, make sure to share this episode with someone who could use the inspiration. All right, I'll see you next time.